Good afternoon. This is our second online lecture series as part of Module 2, and we're actually going to do some discussion in our Zoom meeting on Tuesday night regarding the lecture. So, hope that you learned something and gained some helpful tips. So, one of the things that we've been talking about is the role of a PLC and how important it is in helping us to not only improve the culture and the climate of our schools, to create cohesive and dynamic professional learning opportunities for our teachers, but most importantly, to impact student learning and student achievement. So lots of research has gone on, and I'm going to cite several different people, including Rick DeFore, who I mentioned before, Robert Marzano, and Hattie. And what they said was that the most important variable in the achievement of students is the quality of instruction they receive on a daily basis. Well, for a lot of us, that's sort of a, well, we knew that piece of it. But when they go on and look further at what are the things that can be used to really improve that student achievement, besides, and support that great instruction, they also feel like what is it that students need to learn has to be at the right level. So, not only is instruction important, but instruction has to be of high quality, high rigor, and aligned to our state assessments and our state standards. So, if we want our students to learn and achieve at higher levels, we have to improve teaching. So how do you go about improving teaching? Well, there's a million different ways that have been tried and explored. But again, the research backs up what we think and we believe about the professional learning community. Teachers need ongoing support and ongoing coaching. They also need the minds, the brains, and the work of their fellow teachers. So if you think about how do I go about doing it, it really is a pretty daunting task in the traditional K-12 culture that exists in every school. We know that our classrooms exist almost like independent kingdoms, or fiefdoms as I've heard them called, and they're staffed by relatively autonomous teachers who are responsible for only what happens inside their individual classrooms. So when you have a culture of isolation, unfortunately the teacher becomes the focus of improvement. But that's not always fair, and it's not always the most effective way. So school districts will typically create these very elaborate teacher supervision plans, hoping that their subordinates can be evaluated into better performance. Well, I was a campus principal for 16 years, and I had those teachers who were consistently good. I had those teachers that could put on one heck of a dog and pony show during evaluation time and their evaluation window. And then I had those that just didn't have the skill set. What we want, though, because we know that quality instruction matters every day in every classroom with every teacher, we have to have a vehicle beyond just the evaluation tool that's going to help to improve that. We've even done things like giving teachers financial incentives to pursue graduate courses or professional development. And no matter how wonderful the graduate course or professional development is, teachers go, they come back all enthusiastic, they try one or two things, and we get the same results. Again, it just doesn't have, research shows us that these tactics that we've been trying do not have that really strong impact on student achievement that we really need. So we also think that improving the effectiveness of an individual teacher will also improve our school. If you're a school that's Title I, or you're one that's been struggling with achievement, or even if you're in a very affluent school, it's extremely difficult as the bar continues to be raised for our kids and the level of expectation gets higher and higher. It becomes increasingly more challenging to improve schools as a whole. And we all know that school climate, which is that how you feel every day kind of thing, versus the culture, which is these are our traditions, this is how we do our business, this is what we value and believe, is much, much harder to move. So we have to start by thinking about systems thinking. Systems thinking is focusing on that interdependent relationship, connection, and interactions within the larger system. If we have a strong and powerful system that promotes continuous improvement, then we improve not only an individual individual teacher or a series of teachers, most importantly, we can improve the entire organization or the school. The professional learning community model offers that systems approach to school improvement. Teachers can be organized, as we've talked about, into grade level, departmental, or interdisciplinary collaborative teams where they work interdependently to achieve common goals, and they hold each other accountable, so every member is mutually accountable for the results. A process is put in place to make sure that the teams clarify the essential learnings for their course or grade level or even a unit of instruction. They establish consistent pacing. They create frequent common assessments to monitor student learning, and they agree on the criteria that they're going to use to judge the quality of student work. Each team uses that evidence of student learning to identify individual students who might need additional time and support. And also for those students who maybe can score at that college ready or that advanced level, to give them that additional enrichment and support that they need equally as much. They also are able to look at and really dig into that curriculum. So they're not just doing the traditional, start at the front of the textbook and go to the end, but they're really diving into that curriculum. And they're going to find where it's strong, where maybe there's some problem areas, areas that need to be propped up, or even areas that need to be eliminated. And as a campus leader or as a teacher leader, we have to be willing to give our teachers the time, the resources, and the tools that they need to really get in there and do these things. It's not something that can happen quickly, but if you spend the time doing it and you do it consistently, you will see very positive results. You also have to use a way to intervene with kids. We all know that sometimes teachers are giving an almost seemingly impossible task. They walk into a classroom with 20 to 30 students, and those students have varying abilities. You have some that are on grade level, you have some that are 2 and 3 years above grade level or even more, and then you have some that are as much as a year to, I've even been in the classroom where I've had students who are 5 and 6 years behind. And being able to meet the needs of that diverse group of students is a real challenge for our teachers, especially today. And we tell them, well, you need to differentiate and all that, but that's not as easy as it sounds. So, if we're expecting our teachers to intervene and to use a response to intervention model and approach, we have to equip them to do that. So we know that if you want to have an effective response to intervention model, if you want to intervene effectively, and if you want to truly differentiate instruction, you have to approach it systemically. And again, we know the PLC allows us to use a systemic approach to that intervention. So we are able to, with the help of our co-teachers, design and provide students with additional time and support. We can ensure that there is timely assistance, and we can invite students to utilize that extra time and support. One of the things that I saw done very effectively when I was a campus principal is my science department. We were divided, as a high school, we had our chemistry teachers, our biology teachers, our physics teachers, etc. But unfortunately, at the time, our state assessment was interdisciplinary. So, if you were taking it as a 10th grader, it covered biology and chemistry both, as well as some physical science topics. Well, students hadn't even been in those courses in some cases in as many as a year or 2 years. So what our teachers did, and they designed this in their PLC as part of the daily prep with our students, the students would stay where they were, but the teachers would rotate. And so they would do 10 or 15 minutes of our 90-minute block would be a review of previous course material. And then they were able to pick out and isolate those students who were really struggling and still were not mastering or remembering those concepts, and we were able to pull them in for lunch or after school tutoring. But again, they did this through the PLC and created a very strong not only structure and system to meet the needs of the students, but most importantly to really delve into those instructional objectives that needed it. We also need to remember too that a PLC is a structure that works not just for the individual school, but also for a district. So, I found it somewhat interesting that, here we were mandated in one of my school districts when I was a principal to have PLCs. Great, I'm a firm believer. But we didn't implement that at the district level. And I think it was a huge missed opportunity because, if the district is also using this as a model, you get a lot of feedback, a lot of input. You spend time on the things that matter and not all of the other things that can become distractors to the work that we're doing. So it was really, really important and helpful. And not only that, using the PLC model and getting that input and buy-in and listening to the voice of all of our stakeholders, we can not only create better systems that's going to help with intervention and delivering the curriculum high quality the first time and enriching it for our gifted students, etc. But the district can also provide tools that help teachers, such as formative or summative assessments, common assessments. At the district level for a PLC, you can look at some of the data from your various state, national, local, even teacher-driven assessments to really identify where there are gaps or opportunities within the curriculum. So it's critical for curriculum development at the district level. And it also, too, to help teachers with intervention so that you can provide not only support and tools, but lessons and supplies and materials and resources that are really going to help the students. I know another district that I worked with, we were very lucky that part of their PLC, as they began to see where there were pockets of issues, they sent central staff, curriculum specialists to the campuses to actually tutor and intervene with some of our most needy students. And that made a huge, huge difference. If it's not about the individual teacher, though, a lot of people think, how am I really ever going to improve this? Well, there's something that is so powerful, and that is the power of the peer. I'm sure we've all had that experience, maybe for parents, where you tell your child something, you tell them again, and it just doesn't stick. But if a friend tells them the exact same thing, they're like, oh yeah, I want to do that, or that makes perfect sense. It's the same premise with our teachers. They will listen to their colleagues because they know they're in the trenches with them. They're experiencing the same challenges and difficulties much more readily than they'll listen to a campus administrator, a principal, or God forbid, a central office administrator. So allowing teachers to work with their colleagues, and it's kind of like what you expect in the classroom when you do grouping. You don't put all your lowest students together every single time you group because that's not an effective teaching strategy. But you have that heterogeneous group with the high achiever, the middle achiever, and the low achiever working together at least part of the time so they can grow and develop accordingly. The same thing happens with our teachers. You put our teachers together and suddenly you will see this incredible dialogue, especially if you've set the parameters for what needs to be talked about and what needs to be done. So just to kind of conclude today's lecture, John Hattie, who is a well-known educational researcher, he synthesized 800 meta-analysis on the factors that improve student achievement. And he concluded the most effective way to improve schools was to organize teachers into collaborative teams. Those teams have to clarify what each student must learn and the indicators of learning that the team is going to track. That if you gather evidence on learning on an ongoing basis and you analyze those results together so that you can share and learn which instructional strategies are working and which are not, you will change the trajectory for student achievement. So in other words, he did what Marzano and others have advocated for. You need to organize your school or your team or your grade level into professional learning communities. And as it has been said by Marzano, Dufour, and Hattie, that the PLC concept is one of the most powerful initiatives for school improvement that's come forth in the last decade. So to me, that speaks volumes. So hopefully you're thinking about those PLCs and what you're going to do with them and how you're going to make them have a profound positive impact on your school. Thanks. We'll talk soon again.